Hi, folks. Welcome to the last 3 weeks of Skills D Online. And what I want to talk about in the main video for this week is thinking about going back to all the material we've looked at and do a sort of systematized review of 3-note cells and other stuff. What on earth does that mean? Well, remember this. Do you remember this? It was so long ago. Here is the initial families of 3-note cells handout that I gave you. And I'd love for you to look at this, but more importantly, I would love for you to make your own version of this. And in fact, in your mind. The goal here, as always, is to hear 3 notes at a time, so that when you're reading Modus Novus, you're not just going, oh, what's that? I don't know. What's that? I don't know. What's that? I don't know. The uncertainty bars get bigger and bigger, and we get out of tune. Not only that, it doesn't sound very musical. Instead, remember, I want you to look ahead and say, like, aha, I see these 3 notes. I remember them from somewhere in my analytical practice, and I'm just going to use them. Incidentally, we haven't done much of this, but of course you can use this for verticality when you see a piano score or an orchestra score, and you can say, like, this is a horrible chord. I have no idea what it is, but oh, look, that's a pineapple or an 012 and then some other note. So it's going to be wicked discordant. So I hope I've convinced you in my evangelical looseness about set theory that this stuff is actually useful. Again, what I want you to do is to hear notated music that you're unfamiliar with in a musical way. And in general, not always, but in general, we hear music connected in groups larger than just one interval. So let's take a look at the families of 3-note cells, and we'll take a little bit of a look at jazz. And yes, we'll use octave transfer. And yes, we might talk a little bit about microtonality too. Pretty much all the main stuff we've been doing for this semester. And let's relearn it, because it's only in relearning it that you gradually begin to own it for yourself. So remember, in any group of 3 notes, you can have groups of steps, which are basically these, and don't worry, I'll go over all of these individually. You can have basically things that are made of steps and thirds, which are all of these. You can have things that we now know of as triads. And then you can have things that don't really have any thirds in them. Tritones and a half, or fifths and a fourths. Okay? So what I want to do is let's find a way to practice each one of these larger families. And of course there'll be cross-fertilization, and of course we'll use jazz, and of course there'll be some sort of terrible humor. So let's start thinking about steps. And remember, I'm going to write some stuff out, but I'm also going to want, as we go, for you to improvise some of this stuff. So this is just a suggestion of how you can improvise. And a lot of this is best done away from a piano, away from notation, just thinking in your mind. And remember, we have chromatics, we have things with a half and a whole, and there's 2 of them. Set theory says they're the same. And then there's things with just whole steps. These are obviously pretty easy in and of themselves. I just want you to remember a couple of things. One, remember when you have goofy cells that seem to have 2 half steps in a row, they get 2 half steps like here and here in a row, they can become exceedingly difficult to sing. And what you have to do is break these down into 3-note cells like this. So if you see this and you go minor, Phrygian, yay, it becomes much easier than going, here's a whole step, half, whole. I'm already out of tune. Instead of 1, 2, 3, Phrygian, la. And that's kind of nice. That's kind of a nice scale, don't you think? Why, thank you very much. Thank you. In any case, the way I want you to practice these is by subjecting these to octave transfers and misorderings, so that you deliberately have fun and remember them. In other words, this can become this, or it could, who knows, become this, or, literally any of these things. And let's just take this as an example. Why is this useful? Because it's doing something that's difficult. And if you can do this, you'll recognize it when it's easier. So remember here, right here, let's see. Here, we're thinking la, 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 but we're just doing octaves. La, la, la. And practice that a couple times. And again, more important than what I'm doing now is you finding your own way to practice these. And practice this without notation, by all means. And now notice that we just read la, wherever we were la, 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 down this octave. Now let's reverse these two notes. Here we go. La, try it. And if you were practicing this and finding a systematic way to re-own these, go la, 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 then do it again in the same octave, then again in different octaves. And this is going to help a lot. And this already is chapter 7 of Modus Novus. And then, of course, you can do it in this. These are all our little pineapples happily sitting on the shelf. Here you can do it in the green. La, la, la. And la, la, la. Practice them in one octave. Do in the other. Make sure you mix them all up. And do them for each of these. In other words, do it for the minor. Do it for the Phrygian. Do it for the major. Do it for your own sense of self-worth. It's so beautiful. Sorry, look, I can make a smiling alien out of this one. Here's the antennas. Good. In any case, what I really want to get at is what I should be doing is taking another staff and maybe not even thinking, just walking around. And it's kind of hard to show this because, hey, this is a video. But bear with me for a second. Where I'm now going to think, okay, I've done the steps. I'm going to practice whole steps. 3 blind mice, 3 blind mice. And we've done all those things before. Practice these around and practice them and practice them and practice them again. In other words, it's not enough just to have passed that first quiz. As I said, we're going to keep coming back to these. Okay, so let's take a look at different ways to practice steps with thirds, because this is also chapter 6 of Modus Novus and 7. You'll remember there's a half step and a minor third. There's a half step and a major third. There's a whole step and a minor third. And there's a whole step. And, am I going to say an E sharp? Really? Well, that's kind of different. It's an O26. Let's just do these. Although, you can include our little O26 here if you wish. Again, I'm not doing it the right systematic way. I'm showing you one way you can think of these systematically. I want you to come up with your own systems. In fact, if you want to say everything with a half step, you could do, I'm going to practice this, then I'm going to practice this, then I'm going to practice this. This would be a pretty cool way to practice. Don't you think? We just keep going up. So you begin to recognize things with half steps and things without half steps. So in other words, you might spend a little bit of time going la 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 la, and then try it with octave transfers. Try taking this one down. La 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 la. Just keep doing things like that. The cool thing about that is if you do this in a humorous sort of way, then when you come across a chord like this, it will be more familiar. And when you come across something crazy in Modus Novus like this, hopefully you can recognize this. And this comes to the next part of the assignment, which is to look in Modus Novus. But don't do that yet. This whole week's assignment, what I want you to do is systematically practice, make videos, yay, and then take a quiz, which is going to be the next video. And it's a take-home quiz. Take quiz, make videos of what you got right and wrong. And then after you go through this process of playing games like that and then checking them, after you go through that process, then go to the sacred, the holy Modus Novus. And don't sing. Look in the notes so that there's no pressure of singing and you're just going, oh, I see this. Oh, yeah, of course that's a major minor with this thing. When I was fooling around, I really owned that because I went la, 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 la. And then I did with octave transfers. La, 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 la. Ooh, so is that correct? Hey, I was flat here. But you get the idea. And in this weird way, doing it quicker like that is better than doing it agonizingly slowly because you hear the verticality of the chords. So this is what I want you to do. I'm going by steps and then steps with thirds, but you could do this. And then you could say, hey, I've done all those cells. I'm going to do every possible cell with a whole step. I'm going to keep this constant, and I'm going to add these other pitches as I go. And then you're practicing pitch memory too. I mean, do this, then do that, then do this, then do that, and then do octave transfers. And hey, look, it's an octopus. It's a squid. It's a very friendly cuttlefish swimming away. Look, friendly. Then you'll really own a sort of sense of playfulness. I know things are stressed now, and it can be hard to maintain concentration. And I realize that some people are stressed about this class, even though you don't need to be stressed about it. Having said it, I think the way out is to create little systematic, playful things and then do them quickly. Do them away from piano. To which you say, how will I know it's true? To which I say, it doesn't matter. I really just want you to think in terms of these things. Then if you want to go back and check with piano. But remember, systematic practice, then make the videos, then take the quiz, that'll be the next video I make, then make your own videos laughing at yourself, and only then go to Modus Novus, but look at it and practice recognition. So if you see something like this, there's so many ways to think about this. You can first of all go in like, oh yeah, cha, minor, oh yeah, 0 but what's really important is this, and why am I talking like Beavis? I don't know. In any case, I would then go on, steps, oops. You can go back to the tritone, thinking, let's do everything with the tritone. And remember, you can have an 016. You can say, why am I always in treble clef? You can have the diminished. You can not use viola clef. Please do not use viola clef. But you can also do an 026. I'm sorry, that was a really bad thing to have done. I apologize. In other words, this is another great way to systematically practice your 3-note cells. You don't have to go through this in this order. You should just sort of play around and go, ooh, I noticed this. Ooh, I noticed this. Ooh, I noticed this. But by the time you do it, make sure you get through everything. And hey, as you've noticed, a lot of people on this last quiz had vastly amusing difficulty with diminished chords because they were doing so many 016s. And let's just say, for instance, there was this one thing in the Modus Novus quiz that went like this. So what, diminished? What? 315? In other words, don't neglect doing funny things with triads. Okay, that's step one. Step one is to practice and have fun with these things. And then that's really all you need to do for this first video. But if you feel more comfortable with this, I'd like you to go one step further and start to mix in some of the jazzy jazz stuff. And this, find your own way to do this and make a video of it. Convince us it's funny. I know it'll be funny. Show us that it's funny. In other words, let's say you're doing that thing with steps. Reginald, you're doing that thing with steps again. Did I mention it's late at night? And you're practicing Phrygians. Great, fabulous, here we go. La, la, la. And you think, hey, that's boring. To which I would say, great, yeah, sure, it could be boring, but have you considered doing this over an E major triad? And you can either go to the piano and play this and then try to sing that, or you can sing this and then sing that. And this is a really cool thing. This is like the second level, but I really want you to at least try to push out into this. In other words, I'm going to play an E major and go la, la, la. Whoa, did you see how I sang a D natural? The teacher is I better not talk about him. I think he'll be here. Let's try that one again because I faked myself out. I love it. I love it. How did you fake yourself out? Oh, it's easy. Here, if it looks bigger, maybe you'll be able to do it. Okay? Here we go. There's E major. La, 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 la. Hey, there it is. I cheated a little bit. But that's much harder than just doing Phrygian. And that's the idea. Because a large part of what we had trouble with in some of the Modus Novus is, here's my frame. I'm learning my frame. I'm learning my frame. It's an 016. It's an 016. And then suddenly in the music, you come across, I don't know, a little red circle with dots in it. And you have to go, oh my God, I've done that before. What I want you to do is to be able to switch back and forth between different frames from this to this, and then to do them again. So another thing to do, perhaps, is you can go back to your 3-note cells. And these are just all ideas. I really want you to play with these things and make videos of your discoveries. This particular video, when I say systematized, I mean your system, your own amused system of practicing 3-note cells. Let's say you want to rapidly shift frames because you had trouble doing that diminished thing. Great, you had trouble doing the diminished thing? I did too. Da, 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 wherever a B is. Close, la, la, la. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And then what was something else I had trouble with? I'm just going to add from here. In other words, I'm going to keep this as a common tone. I'm going to do a pineapple. And then what is something else I had trouble with? Ooh, that descending 016 that went like, oh, no, you know what? This is going to be harder. I want to do 3 difficult things just because why not? Do you remember this one? Great. So in other words, I'm going to sing this, and then I'm going to practice rapidly switching to this frame, and then I'm going to practice rapidly switching to this frame. This is a second order after you've gone through all the 3-note cells. Now I'm going to practice flipping between different cells. So in other words, la, 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 la. Hey, I almost did it. My intonation is terrible tonight. To which he said, tonight? Thank you very much. But this is a great way to practice. And do it after you do step 1. In other words, this is stage 2. And you can do other things just to practice accumulating all of the little systems that we've had, putting them in one pile. Let's do the same thing with jazz. Hey, I'm going to go down a minor 9th chord from here. Then I'm going to go down a series of 4ths. Then I'm going to do some kind of minor major thing. In other words, it's wicked good practice. Let's see if we can do that. Here we go. Great. My voice break. Did I end up there? Oh, I did it. And hey, what a fun game. Come up with different systems. See if you end up on the right note. I'm going really quickly now because I want you to start to move quickly. Find different systems, especially if you've been having trouble with them, and just pivot them, flip around, say, do it from this to here to here. Got it? So in other words, stage 1, master each one individually. Each one individually. Stage 2, and do make one video of this, flip between frames. Flip between frames, because remember, time flies like an arrow and fruit flies like a banana. That's essentially what we're doing here. This, and this. There's no one right way to practice this, but do make sure, take a look back at this sheet, and I'm going to put this in the resources and learn again, and do make sure that you've at least touched on all of these possibilities. That's stage 1 and stage 2. And of course, there's a stage 3, and a stage 4, and a stage 5. That's just life. Let me give you some ideas of what a stage 3 might be. Hey, remember that major minor thing we just did? Let's do it with 4 notes. In other words, start to add 4-note chords to some of these things. Try to do some things in jazz you feel uncomfortable with. That's probably stage 3. Stage 4, I don't know, might be life. But what I really want you to do this week is do all of this before you go on in Modus Novus. And then, after you do through this and the quiz, then and only then, look and only look at Modus Novus. Because what we're trying to do is we are trying to connect our visual and our sort of mental or intellectual understanding of it, whatever you might call that, and then our hearing of it and our recognition, and then also our singing of it. And what I'm having you do in this video, one way to think about it, is start on here, sort of thinking about it and singing it. And then I'm going to go to the quiz, and I want you to hear it. And then I want you just to look at it visually and engage the mental thing, and then start singing it. And I want you to go round and round and round in this cycle until it makes sense. And then until we all get a little crazy. Got it? Please email me with any questions about any of this, and Charles will be available for lots of practice sessions. That's this video. I'm going to put up a quiz video next so you can practice hearing things and figuring out what they are. See you in a bit.